The sky of planet Virulon was not blue anymore. It was gray and full of smoke. The rivers had dried, the plants had turned black. The air felt thin like breathing through a cloth, and the people were dying slowly, quietly, helplessly. Nara ran barefoot through the broken streets. Her long silver hair was tangled and full of dust. Her skin was pale, almost glowing, but weak. She coughed hard and fell once, then stood again. She was not running from anyone. She was running toward her only hope in the distance. A human outpost stood like a metal box. It was small, hidden between sharp red hills. But to her, it looked like a miracle. Humans were strong and warm and full of life, and now she needed one to survive. Her legs gave out near the gate. Guards pointed weapons at her, shouting something she couldn't understand. But then one man stepped forward. He wasn't yelling. He looked confused, but not cruel. Captain Jace knelt beside her, and when her lips moved, he leaned closer. "Teed. A human," she whispered. Then she passed out in his arms. Jace looked at the girl in shock. She was light, almost too light. Her breathing was shallow, and her skin was cold. "Get the medic," he ordered. Carrying her inside, they took her to the infirmary and ran scans. Dr. Ellie frowned at the results. "This is strange. Her organs are collapsing, but not from wounds or poison. It's like her body is shutting down by itself," she said. Jace stayed by the bed, watching the alien girl breathe. He didn't know her, but something about her felt different. Not dangerous, not a trap. Just sad hours passed. Then her eyes slowly opened. She turned her head and saw Jace. A small smile touched her lips, but tears formed in her eyes. "You're human," she whispered again. "Yes," Jace said, nodding slowly. "My name is Jace. You're safe now." She shook her head gently. "No, not safe. Not yet," she said softly. "My body, my kind. We're dying. We can't survive anymore." Jace looked confused. "What do you mean?" Nara pulled back her sleeve and showed him a mark. On her arm, it was glowing, faintly shaped like a circle with small stars around it. "This shows I'm of age. Ready to bond," she said. "But there are no Virelian males left. They're all sterile." Jace's face turned serious. "You mean your species can't reproduce anymore?" She nodded weakly. "Our elders found something strange. Only humans have the key. Your kind, your blood, matches us. If I don't find a human match, my body will stop living." Jace leaned back, trying to process everything. This was more than a refugee case. It was a biological emergency. Still, he had questions. "Why didn't your people ask for help?" Her voice cracked. "Pride. Fear, politics, but now there's no time left. I ran, I begged, just to find one human." Before he could speak more, the door opened. A soldier stepped in and saluted. "Captain, Command wants to know why an alien is in medical care without clearance." Jay stood, blocking the soldier's view. "Of her, she's not a threat," he said firmly. "She's sick and needs help." The soldier didn't move. "Still, orders are orders, sir. I have to report this." Nara looked frightened now. She grabbed Jace's sleeve with trembling fingers. "Please, don't let them take me. If they test me, they'll cut me open. They won't understand. I just want to live." Jace felt a deep pull inside his chest. This wasn't just about duty anymore. This girl had come through fire and poison to ask for life, not war. He looked at the soldier. "Give me some time. Tell Command she's under observation." The soldier hesitated, then nodded and left. When the door closed, Jace turned back to her. Nara's eyes were wide, wet with tears. He placed a hand gently on hers. "You're safe. For now," he said. "But if what you're saying is true, then this is bigger than you and me." She nodded again. "Yes, but it starts with you." The light in her mark glowed a little brighter. And in that quiet moment, a dying girl from a dying planet found a spark of hope in the hands of a human. The sun never fully rose on Virelin. Even morning felt like evening, but inside the human base. Soft lights flickered above Nara's bed. She lay still, her breathing slow but steady. Captain Jace sat nearby, watching the monitor screen show strange symbols. Dr. Ellie stood beside him, arms crossed, eyes serious. "This is not normal," Ellie whispered. "She's not just sick. Her DNA is rewriting itself." Jace looked at her in surprise. "What do you mean?" Ellie tapped on the screen. "She's Virelian, but her cells are reacting to your presence. When you touched her hand earlier, her heart rate improved. Her body started producing energy again." Jace leaned forward, so she wasn't lying. Ellie nodded. "I don't think so. She said she needs a human to survive, and this proves it. She's bonding to you." On a biological level, Jace rubbed his forehead, trying to understand. Was this some alien trick? Or something more honest? More tragic? Just then, Nara opened her eyes. She looked at the light on the ceiling, then slowly turned her head toward Jace. Her voice was weak, but clearer than before. "You stayed," she said softly. "Yes," Jace replied. "I did. I thought they would take me away," she whispered. "They tried," he said with a slight smile. "But I stopped them for now." Nara's lips trembled, but she smiled too. Then she glanced at Ellie and sat up slowly. "I need to tell you something," she said. Her fingers touched the glowing mark on her arm. "This mark isn't just a symbol. It's a countdown." Ellie stepped closer. "A countdown to what?" Nara looked down, ashamed to death. She whispered, "When a Virelian female reaches maturity, our body activates the bond marker. We have a short time to find a mate. If we fail, our body breaks itself apart." Jace stared at her in disbelief. "That's cruel," he said. She nodded. "It was our way to control population long ago. But now, there are no males left. Our species made a mistake, and now we're paying for it." Ellie's voice was gentle. "And why? Humans, why do you bond to us?" Nara took a breath. "Hundreds of years ago, we shared common ground. Old records speak of peace and bonding with your kind, but we broke away. We believed we were superior. We closed our borders, destroyed ancient truths. But now, it's all returning." She looked at Jace, her eyes full of emotion. "You touched me, and my body knew. It felt safe." Ellie looked at the scans again. "The changes in your DNA are real. Your cells are stabilizing, but only near Jace." Jace stood up, pacing the room. "This is too big. If Command finds out, they'll want to study her, maybe lock her up." Nara sat up straighter. "They won't listen. They'll see me as a problem, not a person." Jace looked at her. "I won't let that happen," he said. She smiled, but her hand trembled again. "The countdown is speeding up. My time is short." He walked to her and gently took her hand. The glowing mark pulsed softly at his touch. Ellie stared at it, stunned. "It's reacting." "Again," she whispered. This is proof." Suddenly, a sharp sound rang out warning. "Unauthorized access in Sector 3. Jace's cum buzzed. Captain, this is Control. Someone reported a biohazard in the medbay." Jace's eyes went cold. "They're coming." Nara clutched his hand tighter. "Please, Jace, don't let them take me." He looked at her. Looked. She wasn't a weapon, a spy, or a trap. She was a girl trying to live, and he had a choice to make. "Ellie," he said, "lock the door." She hesitated, but nodded, pressing the panel. The lights turned red. Emergency lock engaged. Jace knelt beside Nara and looked her in the eyes. "There's a cave system just outside the base," he said. "Old mining tunnels. If we make it there, they won't find us. easily. Her eyes widened in fear and hope. "You'd take me?" He nodded. "You don't deserve to die in a cage." She touched the mark again, then looked at him like he was her only light left in the world. "Thank you for seeing me." Ellie handed Jace a bag of supplies. "You'll need this food, med patches, flares." She smiled at Nara. "Stay alive, both of you." The door unlocked for just 3 seconds, and in those seconds, Jace lifted Nara in two. His arms and ran. Guards turned, but he disappeared down a back corridor, holding a girl whose species had forgotten love, but whose body had remembered it through one man. The metal door slammed shut behind them. Jace didn't stop running. He held Nara close, her body light and trembling in his arms. Sirens echoed through the base. Guards were shouting, boots stomping, lights flashing red, but Jace knew these halls better than anyone. He turned left, ducked under a pipe, and kicked open a back hatch, cold. Air slapped his face as they entered the outside world. The wasteland of Virulon spread far and dead. Mountains of rust-colored rock stood tall like bones of the earth. Black clouds hung above the sky, hiding the twin moons, and the wind screamed. Like it was angry, Nara clung to him, eyes half shut. "Where? Where are we going?" she asked in a weak voice. "To the tunnels," Jace said, breathless. "There's a mining shaft nearby, no cameras, no patrols." He slid down a rocky slope, his boots kicking dust and ash. At the bottom was a steel hatch buried in the dirt. He pulled it open and climbed down the old ladder, still carrying her. The tunnel below was dark and cold, but safe for now. Once inside, he set her down gently on a crate. She looked around with fear. "Is this where we hide?" For now, Jace nodded, lighting a small lantern. "It's not much, but no one will find us here." She hugged her knees, shivering. "I'm sorry I brought danger to you," she whispered. Jace knelt in front of her. "You didn't ask for this," he said. "You came for help, not war." He opened the supply bag Ellie had given him. He handed her a heat patch and a water pouch. "Here, this will help you feel better." Nara took them with shaking hands, her fingers brushing his. The glowing mark on her arm pulsed softly again. Jace noticed it. "Every time I touch you, that thing lights up." She nodded slowly. "It's part of the bond. My body knows you're near. It feels safe." Stronger Jace looked away for a moment. He was a soldier, a captain. This was not part of any mission he trained for. Yet here he was, deep underground with a dying alien girl who trusted him more than anyone. "You're not scared of me?" he asked. Nara blinked, confused. "Why would I be?" "Because I'm human," he said. "Because your people closed off from us long ago." She gave a small, tired smile. "My people made many mistakes, but I was taught to look with my heart, not just with history." She reached out and gently touched his chest. "And my heart says, you're different." Jace froze for a second, then sat beside her. "I'm not a hero," he whispered. Nara rested her head against his shoulder. "You don't have to be." They sat in silence for a while. The wind howled above the metal. Walls creaked, but in that moment, a quiet warmth grew between them, fragile but real. Suddenly, a beep echoed from Jace's wristband, a message from the command center. "Captain Jace is to be arrested on sight. He is harboring an alien threat." Armed response, approved. He turned off the band quickly, but Nara saw his face pale. "What is it?" she asked. "They think I've betrayed them," he said. "They're hunting me now too." Nara reached for his hand. "I can leave. If I go alone, they may forgive you." "No," Jace said firmly. "I won't let you die out there. Not for me." She looked like she wanted to cry, but instead, she smiled a soft, sad smile. "You are the first person to choose me," she whispered. "And maybe the last." Suddenly, there was a noise, clanking metal. Footsteps on the upper surface. Drones. Jace grabbed his blaster and moved to the ladder. They've found the hatch. He looked back at Nara. We moved deeper into the tunnels. Come on. She stood up slowly, still weak but determined. They moved through the winding corridors, past broken mining carts, piles of dust, and glowing crystals. Nara leaned on Jace when her legs failed. He held her close when the walls grew tight and the air cold at one point. They stopped beside an ancient stone door, strange alien symbols carved into it, a glowing blue. Nara stared at it in shock. This is from the old times. She touched the door, and it opened slowly. Inside was a large chamber, filled with carvings, murals, and light. Jace looked around in awe. What is this place? Nara turned to him. It's a sanctuary. She said softly, a place for those who once bonded with humans. Maybe this was always meant to happen again. Jace looked at her glowing mark. It was now bright and warm. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing now. He wasn't running to save her. He was staying. Because she had already saved something inside him. The air inside the chamber was warmer, not from machines, but from something ancient. Jace and Nara stood in silence, their footsteps echoing on the smooth stone floor. Blue lights pulsed softly in the walls. Old murals glowed with faded color. Strange symbols danced like fireflies across the carvings. Jace turned slowly in place, eyes wide. It's beautiful, he whispered. Nara walked forward, drawn to the center. She placed her hand on a round stone platform. A soft hum filled the chamber. The floor lit up with glowing rings around her feet. Jace stepped back in surprise. What is this place? He asked again. She turned to him, her silver eyes bright. This is the Temple of Binding, she said. Long ago, Varelians came here to choose their mates. With humans, she added quietly. Jace blinked. Wait. People used to bond with humans. This is real. Nara nodded, walking slowly along the wall. She pointed at one carving. A tall human man stood beside a glowing Varelian woman. Their hands touched. A light connected their hearts. We erased this from history, she said, because pride made us blind. But the truth never dies. She moved to the center of the platform. This place. It's reacting to you. She gestured for him to step forward. He hesitated, then joined her, standing across the circle. Their feet stood on opposite sides of a glowing ring. A gentle wind swirled inside the room, though no doors were open. Then, the symbols on the floor began to rise, floating like dust in the air, forming shapes between them. Nara took a deep breath. If you stay here, if you accept me, the bond will complete. Jace looked at her closely. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes, those eyes were full of courage. Why me? He asked softly. There are millions of humans out there. Nara stepped forward, her voice like a whisper in the dark. Because I didn't choose with logic. My heart chose when you picked me up instead of pointing a gun. When? You stayed by my side, even when they called me a threat. I don't want a savior. Jace, I want someone who sees me. Jace felt his chest tighten. He had never expected this. He wasn't looking for love or destiny, but in that moment, standing in this glowing room with her, something inside him softened. He reached forward and took her hand. The floating symbols burst into golden sparks. The floor glowed bright, and the mark on her arm blazed like a small sun. Nara gasped and closed her eyes. Light surrounded her body, soft, not burning. And her skin shimmered with power. The temple responded with a low hum like music. Jace held her steady. What's happening? She opened her eyes slowly. I'm changing, she said. Your presence has completed the cycle. Her heartbeat was strong now. Her cheeks had color. Her strength returned like a wave. The mark on her arm turned from red to blue, and then vanished. Jace stared at the place. Where it had been, what does that mean? Nara smiled with tears in her eyes. I'm not dying anymore. You've saved me. But before they could rest, a loud thud echoed from above. The outer hatch, someone was coming. Jace stepped in front of her, hand on his blaster. We're not safe yet, he said. Nara nodded and touched the wall. A small doorway opened to the side of the temple. This way, she said, only. Bonded pairs can pass. They ran down the narrow path. Behind them, voices shouted, boots marched. The temple had been found, but the human and the Varelian girl had already left. The passage led them to a cave filled with glowing vines, bird-like. Creatures chirped softly in the dark. It was peaceful, untouched by war or politics. Jace sat down on a flat stone, his chest rising and falling with tired breath. Nara sat beside him, curling up near his side. Her head resting against him. You didn't have to do this, she said softly. I would have understood if you walked away. Jace looked at the stars through a crack in the cave ceiling. Then at the girl beside him, alive, warm and shining with new life. I didn't do this just for you, he said. I did this because something inside me told me I should. Nara smiled and took his hand. Then maybe. We're both saved. Far above, the search continued, but deep below. In an old sacred space, two souls from different worlds had just rewritten history together. The sun rose slowly over Virelon's deadlands, but in the hidden cave, the light didn't reach them. Instead, Jace woke to the soft sound of Nara breathing beside him. She was curled close, her chest rising and falling. No longer weak, no longer fading. She looked peaceful for the first time since they met. He sat up quietly, stretched his arms, and stepped outside the cave mouth. The wind was dry and still. In the far distance, he saw something in the sky. Not a bird, not a cloud. A scout drone. Jace's jaw tightened. They found us, he whispered. He went back inside and gently touched Nara's shoulder. She blinked awake, blinking in the dim glow of the cave. Her voice was soft, but stronger now. Is it morning? Jace nodded. And we don't have much time. He handed her a piece of rations and water as she ate. He activated his wristband for the first time since they escaped. Messages flooded in. Alerts, threats, warnings. But one caught his eye. Captain. Jace, you are to surrender at Council Station 9 within 48 hours. You will be marked a traitor to Earth Command. We demand custody of the alien female immediately. He read the message again and again, then turned to Nara. They're giving me a chance, he said. If I turn you in, I'll keep my rank. My future. Nara paused, setting the food down. I won't ask you to choose me, she said quietly. This was never your fight. He stared at her. She didn't cry, she didn't beg. She was ready to walk back into the fire alone. Just to save him. But that was the moment Jace made his choice, and he didn't hesitate. I'm not handing you over, he said firmly. You're not a weapon, not a lab project. You're someone worth saving. Her eyes widened, even if it means losing everything. He gave a small smile. I've already gained more than I ever had. Suddenly, a loud boom echoed from outside. The entrance to the cave exploded inward. Flames and smoke filled the air. Stay behind me, Jace shouted, pulling his blaster. Figures in black armor rushed in. Council soldiers. Target is armed. Seize the alien girl. One of them yelled. Jace fired a warning shot. Stand down. He yelled, she's under my protection. But they didn't stop. Nara stepped forward beside him. The glowing energy from her bond sparked in her palms. She raised her hands not to attack but to speak. I came here in peace. She shouted, my kind is dying, and I only asked to live. One of the soldiers hesitated, but the lead officer raised a baton and fired a bolt of energy, flew toward Nara. Jace leaped in front of her, taking the hit. He dropped to his knees, chest burning. "Jace?" Nara screamed, catching him, his face twisted in pain. But he grabbed her hand. "I said, I'm not leaving you," he gasped. Suddenly, the mark on Nara's arm flared bright blue. The energy burst outward, knocking the soldiers back. Protective shield formed around her and Jace. Everyone froze shocked, afraid. Even the officers backed up in confusion. Then, from above, a loud voice boomed through speakers. "Stand down, all of you." A shuttle landed nearby. From it stepped Admiral Rhodes, leader of the Earth's Frontier Council. His gray hair blew in the wind, and his eyes were cold. He approached slowly, staring at Nara first, then at Jace, still kneeling but alive. "So," the Admiral said, "this is the alien causing so much noise." "She's not causing anything," Jace snapped. "Standing, she came asking for help. We failed her." Rhodes raised an eyebrow. "You bonded with her, didn't you?" Jace nodded fully. The Admiral sighed. "Do you know what you've done, Captain? You may have just rewritten our future." He turned to his soldiers. "Lower your weapons. The girl is not to be harmed." They obeyed, confused. Nara stood tall now, still holding Jace's hand, her body no longer weak. Her voice steady. "Our kind can survive now, and humans are the only ones who can help." Rhodes stared at them both, then looked at the glowing connection between them. Finally, he said, "We'll bring you both to Council Station 9, not for arrest, but for answers." Jace narrowed his eyes. "You promise she won't be caged?" The Admiral nodded slowly. "She'll be heard. That's my word." And so, the wind blew across Virilan's dead surface again, but this time, hope traveled with it, not because a soldier followed orders, but because a human made a choice to protect life over rules, and because a girl who should have died found someone willing to fight for her heart. The journey to Council Station 9 was long and quiet. The shuttle flew over the scorched lands of Virilan. Jace sat beside Nara, his shoulder bandaged, his jaw clenched. Nara didn't speak much either. She simply held his hand the entire flight, never letting go. When the ship landed, dozens of officials waited outside. Scientists, guards, doctors, ambassadors, all staring at the bonded pair like they were something from a myth. But no one moved to hurt them, not this time. Inside the council chamber, glowing screens floated around the room. World leaders and alien envoys watched the footage. Jace stepping in front of the energy bolt, Nara shielding him with glowing power. Admiral Rhodes stood at the center, voice echoing. "You all saw what happened," he said. "This is not an invasion. It's not manipulation. This is something we buried long ago." Returning, he turned toward Nara and nodded. "You may speak." Nara stepped forward slowly, her voice soft but firm. "I am Virelian," she began. "My people are dying. We lost the ability to continue our race, not through war, but through pride. We forgot who we once were, and who helped us survive." She looked at Jace, her voice catching humans. "Your kind once saved us long ago." A few whispers broke in the crowd. But Nara lifted her arm, showing where the glowing mark had once been. "This was not magic or trickery. It was biology. I came to your world to find a bond, not to beg, but to live." She placed her hand over her heart. "And this man chose me, not out of duty, but out of kindness. He didn't treat me like a test subject. He treated me like someone who mattered." Jace stood beside her. He spoke next. "I've served Earth Command for most of my life. I followed orders, wore medals, carried a rifle. But this," he glanced at Nara, "this is the first mission that ever felt like it meant something." The room was quiet until one council member stood, a woman with sharp eyes. "But what if others come, demanding the same bond? What if this need becomes a threat?" Nara answered before Jace could. We do not want to take. We want to build one bond. One future at a time. Another leader, this one from the Galactic Medics Union, stood up. May we examine your DNA? He asked. Nara nodded. I will allow tests, but no cages, no chains. Jace added firmly. If she's caged, I walk. That's final. Admiral Rhodes looked around the chamber, then raised his hand. The Council will grant them protected status. They will stay here under full observation, but not as prisoners, as the first of a new bridge between species. Cheers and protests filled the room at once. But the law had spoken, and the future had already begun. Weeks passed. Jace and Nara were given a quiet home on the edge of the research base. Not large, not grand, but warm, private, and safe inside. Jace repaired old tech. Nara painted alien symbols on the walls using glowing ink. Sometimes they sat by the heater in silence. Other nights they talked for hours about Earth, Varellan, and the stars. But not everything was perfect. Nara had nightmares, flashes of her friends who never found a bond, her mother's final words. Before the sickness took her, Jace held her when she woke, whispering, "You're not alone now," and she would hold him tighter. Because she finally believed it. One morning, a knock came at the door. Dr. Ellie stood there, smiling nervously. She carried a small tablet and a pack of data crystals. "I thought you'd want to see this," she said. Jace invited her in, and Nara poured her warm leaf water. Ellie placed the tablet on the table. "It's official," she said. "Your bond has stabilized Nara's DNA completely. Her organs are regenerating. Her lifespan's extended, and the connection is clean healthy." Nara looked stunned. "You mean? I'll live like a normal Varellian again?" "Better," Ellie said with a smile. "You're the first proof that humans can restore your kind." Jace leaned back, running a hand through his hair. "So what now?" Ellie looked serious. "Other Varellian females are already requesting passage to human zones. This is going to grow fast, but we're creating rules. Protection, understanding. We're making it right this time." Nara stood and walked to the window. Outside, the twin moons glowed above the burned land. But now, small ships flew above it, carrying doctors, translators, and hopes. "I never thought I'd see my world come back to life," she whispered. Jay stood behind her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You didn't just survive, Nara," he said. "You lit a fire in the ashes." She turned, eyes full of warmth. "And you stood beside me when no one else would." Their bond didn't need glowing marks anymore. It was in every word, every glance, every quiet night they spent rebuilding. Something broken together. The stars above Varellan looked brighter now, not because the skies had changed, but because hope had returned. Ships came and went, every day carrying scientists, healers, translators, and new faces, Varellian women with quiet eyes and quiet pain. They came from the mountains, from crumbled cities, from far moons. Each one carrying a glowing mark, each one searching for a chance to live. In the center of it all stood one small home, not made of crystal or gold, just metal, stone, and warmth. And in that home lived Jace and Nara, the first to bond, the first to prove that a human's touch could bring life. Where death once ruled, Jace spent his days training new soldiers, not for war, but for protection. "Guard, don't hurt," he would say. "Understand, don't judge." Nara helped lead the new Varellian Council. She taught young girls how to speak Earth languages, told them not to fear humans, but also not to give themselves without trust. This bond must be a choice. She always reminded them, not just survival, but respect. Their story spread fast. Galactic networks shared footage of Jace standing in front of blasters, of Nara shielding him with her light. Children on distant planets played Captain and the Glow Girl in city alleys. But for Jace and Nara, life remained simple. they planted food in dry soil and danced under broken moons. They laughed at bad jokes and old music. Sometimes they fought about who burned dinner or used all the hot water. But they always made peace before sleep. Then, one evening, something new happened. Nara sat by the window, holding her belly, her face pale and her hands trembling. Jace rushed to her. "What's wrong? Are you hurt?" She looked up at him, tears in her eyes. "No," she whispered. I think we created life." Jace froze. His heart skipped. "You mean?" She nodded slowly. "I'm with child." Silence filled the room, heavy and deep. Then joy came crashing in like a wave. He dropped to his knees, resting his forehead on her stomach. Tears ran down his cheeks, and she stroked his hair, smiling that night. The stars felt closer than ever. Months passed, the base became a real town. Humans and Varelians lived side by side. Fences were replaced with open gates, and laughter returned to the streets. Nara's belly grew round and full. Everywhere she. When others followed asking for advice, for courage, for hope, "You were the first," they'd whisper. "And because of you." We believe the council prepared a celebration, not just for the child, but for what it meant. The first true joining of two races in centuries. But danger still existed. Not all humans accepted the bonds. Some called it unnatural, others feared extinction, and one night, Jace found a message carved into their door. "Traitor to humanity." He touched the words, but didn't erase them. Nara saw the pain in his eyes. But she held his hand and whispered, "They fear what they don't understand, and we'll teach them by living." Then came the day when Nara cried. Out in the early hours, Jace carried her to the healing chamber. Doctors and midwives surrounded them, and for hours he stood by her side, never moving, never letting go. Then soft crying broke the silence. A tiny voice, a perfect sound. Jace held the baby first. Hands shaking, a girl tiny, glowing slightly like her mother, with dark brown eyes like him, he handed her to Nara, who was crying and laughing at the same time. "She's perfect," she said. "She's the future," Jace whispered. They named her Leora, light from ash in both their languages. And that name became a symbol across the stars. 10 years later, Leora stood on the same council floor her parents once stood on. She was strong, wise, and unafraid. Around her stood thousands, humans and aliens both, watching, listening, learning. "My mother was dying," Leora told the crowd, "and my father saved her not with weapons, but with his heart. And because of that, I exist." People clapped, others wept. History had been harsh, but love had made something stronger than laws or empires. Jace and Nara sat in the front row, older now, but still together, their hands still linked, their eyes still soft when looking at each other. They were never royalty, never rich, but they were remembered forever as the ones who showed two worlds that survival could begin with one choice, and that love could save an entire race. The end.